Hello and welcome to the second game of the day, Kingdom versus Kappa123 in the Global Esports Cup hosted by GameShow. This is the Southeast Asia region group stage number 1, and we're currently in group number 4. It's GSL format, best of ones across the board, 2-game elimination. So even if they lose here, they're not out of the tournament as a whole yet, although they definitely want to secure their victory and go up against Space Creators in the next round. Well, to start things off, it's going to be pretty normal fare. Winter Wyvern and Doom band out. No big surprises at all, but this should be a pretty darn good series, I'd expect, or at least a fun game to watch. Hopefully we get to see some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary. Queen of Pain will be banned out by Kingdom, and really I don't think anybody's surprised in the slightest with these first couple of bans, and we probably shouldn't be. Right now, Kappa123, there's a lot of heroes that they should consider banning. Ember Spirit was probably one of them. A really strong hero in his own right, although it is definitely workaroundable if picked up this early on inside the draft. I don't think they'll regret banning that Ember Spirit. And now for Kingdom. What do you consider snagging? Probably a Tusk here would be a reasonable choice for themselves. If they want to play it, but yeah, just gonna go for the Tusk. No surprises at all. Tusk is a very solid hero, can be played as support, played as offlane, and I've seen him mid a couple times with the Southeast Asian teams, although by far the minority when it comes to Tusk. Usually he'll be in that offlane role, either solo or in a dual lane. Can apply a lot of pressure there if you get early levels on the hero, can find solo kills on supports, can apply a lot of pressure around the map, and in general just be a very useful hero for your team. Offers vision control and zoning control with his entire kit. The sigil as well as the ice shards allowing you to catch eyes on the enemy maybe a little bit faster than you otherwise would, or above those high grounds and awkward spots where you usually won't be able to see them. In general, just a really good hero, and I don't think I really need to talk any more about the Tusk unless we see some interesting synergistic picks with him, as he's just so popular right now and has been for the last couple of months, and in previous patch was probably even a little bit more so, but he hasn't fallen out of favor, although what he has done is shifted a little bit less from that offlane role and a little bit more into the position 4 spot. Kappa123 gonna pick up the Darks here. A hero that could, in theory, have laned with the Tusk for Kingdom, but in general just a stable offlaner that a lot of teams are partial to right now. Darks here is usually able to get a good amount in his lane, and even if he's not one of a few offlaners that's in the pool right now, or popular offlaners that teams are picking, that is able to transition into the jungle very effectively. Especially if your safe lane farmer is a little bit more on the weak side, that constant ion shell harass, goodness, if you are on the receiving end of it, could be ion hell, is going to be very annoying and slow down your farm quite significantly. To follow up this Darkseer, they're going to pick themselves up a Dazzle. We're just going to see very standard safe picks from both of these teams. Dazzle's very unique in the way that he's able to contribute inside these team fights. Shallow Grave is just such an amazing ability to buy your carry a couple of extra seconds and maybe even get them out to safety. Usually best combined if you have some other way of bailing out your buddies, and maybe that's going to be the surge coming out from the Darkseer, or maybe he's able to vacuum back the opponents and buy themselves a little bit of extra time. But now Kingdom going to pick themselves up a Shadow Fiend for their mid lane. A pretty safe pick, I'd say. Shadow Fiend's matchups, although sometimes they start out pretty sketchy, generally turn into a good time for the SF. He's able to flash farm the woods so very well, and once you get higher levels in those raises, can just double raise down the creep waves, and then after those double raises, move off to farm inside the woods, where it's really hard to punish that, especially if you go for an offlaner like Darkseer and a support like Dazzle. These heroes don't necessarily rotate the best, although they can. It's a lot worse than like a Tusk or Earthshaker or Lina. A little bit more of an aggressive pick with more initiation spells, and even more importantly, large amounts of CC. Kingdom will secure the Shadow Fiend pick even further by banning out the Templar Assassin, a matchup that Shadow Fiend tends to struggle with quite a bit, as his damage doesn't get good enough fast enough to deal with Templar Assassin's Refraction, and even when Shadow Fiend's at max souls, TA can still edge him out with maxed out Refraction. And killing off the Templar Assassin relies on the TA playing too over aggressive, whereas once level 6 comes out for the TA, can very easily dive into the Shadow Fiend if he's not careful, or if she has a fresh refraction up and can just run headlong into him. I think it's a good ban coming out from Kingdom, and maybe they'll look to secure their mid lane again with this next ban, although I think that's a little bit less likely. It really depends on what they want to go for in their safe lane. If they're going to go for one of those more mobile heroes, shut down by silence, maybe decide to ban out the Disruptor here, would have comboed really nicely with the Darkseer. Since Winter Wyvern's not in the pool, you don't have to worry about that. But any sort of AoE follow-up, and they're going to ban the Shaker, which is one of those heroes that can tip the scales of most mid lane matchups in the favor or against the Shadow Fiend. Having that fissure to set up for double raises is amazing if Kingdom wanted to pick it up, but also Shadow Fiend is very immobile. If he gets fissure walled off, there's no fallback mechanism, no maneuverability, he's stuck. And most of your mid laners will be able to follow up. If it's a Wind Ranger, you have like the Shackle Power Shot, but pretty much everybody is going to have something to contribute in that situation. So yeah, Kingdom will make sure that they're safe, and also when you snowball people in with the Tusk, having to deal with that fissure can be very, very annoying for yourself if you get caught out of position. So another way that Earthshaker pick could have been really good for Kappa123. Now, as far as the ban for Kappa, they also have to consider this next pick. They're going to ban the Lion and potentially pick up something like, an Anti-Mage maybe? I don't know. The Lion ban would make a lot more sense if they already had the Ember Spirit, or if Ember Spirit was still available in the pool. It looks like they're scared of the lockdown coming out from Kingdom and want to go for a more mobile carry. But are they going to pick that up here, or wait until their fourth pick, I wonder? If they pick it up here, it does give Kingdom a little bit more room to counter it out. But it does suggest that they want to go for something a little bit more on the mobile side. Well, as far as what that could be, the anti-mage that came to mind immediately is always there, but there's still plenty of other heroes that are shut down by the line. Maybe they're looking for a Naga Siren core. Combos really nicely with the Darkseer inside these team fights. And that constant split push coming up from those Radiance illusions is a general nuisance, but the Lion does have two ways to deal with those illusions. And also once you get a Blink Dagger, a Blink Hex Initiation could stop a Naga as she's out split pushing, and if the Hex connects, you know it's the real Naga Siren, as otherwise it would have instantly destroyed it. So maybe an illusion carry for Kappa123 is also in consideration with this Lion ban. Nobody's just disconnected there, actually just using almost all of the reserve time, thinking about this next pick. Darkseer Dazzle are so blank slate that they could go for pretty much anything, and this is the formative pick for them, and it's going to be a Sand King. Wow, this is a hero we don't see very often, but I absolutely love it. Combos beautifully with the Darkseer. Although drafting them on the same team can be a little bit awkward. Both of them like to get a little bit of farm acceleration inside the woods. Both of them are melee initiators that can be a little bit clunky. But once you have a Blink Dagger on the Sand King, things get beautiful for you. If you catch a vacuum back on 2 or 3 targets, follow up with the Burrow Strike Epicenter or Epicenter Burrow Strike, depending on how the initiation goes, and just like that, you've pretty much found yourself a one engagement. The amount of control that this offers Kappa123 is absurd, and it's something I wish teams would pick up a lot more. Sand King offers a lot of the same utility that the Earthshaker does, although maybe not as early. It's just a really solid initiator, and I look forward to seeing it for Kappa123. The first thing that you need to keep in mind when you look at the Sand King is how are they going to be able to get his Blink Dagger, and how are Kingdom going to be able to stop it? Kingdom might consider going for some heroes that are good at invading the enemy woods, or they could at the very least apply pressure to make Sand King think twice about just AFK farming. And I understand why Kappa123 would consider taking so much of the reserve time to think about this Sand King pick, because it is definitely not without its weaknesses. Sand King, although he can be played very aggressively with boots first, get in range for some Burrow Strikes and catch out those early kills, would much rather just get level 3, get the 2 points up into the Sandstorm and power farm until you have your Blink Dagger between 9 and 11 minutes, if all goes according to plan, that is. For Kingdom now, their focus on the draft should be protecting the Shadow Fiend. And, well, another support that could do that, with Dazzle already off of the board, maybe just go for the Witch Doctor we saw in last game, although he wasn't able to contribute anything that's going to be able to respond, and Rubik fits the bill nicely. Burrow Strike's a great spell for Rubik. It's a stun, and it's also a little bit of extra maneuverability for the Rubik. Worst case scenario, even if you're not able to get in range for the Burrow Strike or telekinesis by yourself, maybe Burrow Strike into the lift could also work out for them. And the entire kits of all of these heroes are generally pretty good for Rubik to steal, and Rubik's never going to be a bad pick. What he is going to lack, however, is the damage, but Shadow Fiend makes up for that and then some. Telekinesis into double raise could very easily set up kills on the mid lane, but right now we don't know what that mid is going to be for Kappa123, as they're going to pick up a Gyrocopter here. Gyrocopter is going to combo very nicely inside that AoE teamfight wombo combo with the Darkseer and the Sand King. A carry that's able to contribute very early and often, and in general, as long as Kappa123 are able to get the initiation items up for the Darkseer and the Sand King, or maybe a mech for the Darkseer and Blink for the Sand King, I can see them completely taking control of this game and just controlling every single one of the engagements, when, where, and how it happens. Where Kingdom aren't really able to react unless this Tusk gets off to a good start. If Tusk is able to get his levels by himself, could slow down the Sand King's jungle. But now we have a change of pace coming out from Kingdom as they pick up a Nature's Prophet. Very interesting. This is going to flag, at least to me, that Kingdom aren't going to look to take hit-on engagements with Kappa123s. They probably can't, with the vast amount of teamfight pressure that they have. Instead, they're going to look to split up the map, and Shadowfiend, Nature's Prophet are decent heroes to do that. Kingdom are going to rely on finding pickoffs and then turning those into pushes in order to get map objectives inside this game. However, the Nature's Prophet pick is going to be potentially a little bit more passive than some other offlaners if they went for the offlane Tusk in particular. He would have been able to contribute a lot more with the less levels. Although Nature's Prophet does offer the global positioning with the teleport, which is very nice, especially for the tri-lane if they're looking to kill off this Darkseer. It might not pan out for Kingdom. It's an interesting idea, and I like it, but Kappa123 might just be able to brute force down these fights and force Nature's Prophet back. The Sand King will be able to catch up the Nature's Prophet quite frequently with a Blink Burrow Strike initiation. It's not going to be the easiest of split push games for him. Kappa123 are going to ban out the Weaver as the presumed safe lane carry coming out from Kingdom. Although right now they do have a pretty good stun in the Sand King's Burrow Strike, that's about all they have. So those mobile carries really could have given them some difficulty. Kingdom, should they have gone for the Weaver, or if they go for something like a Clinks, which would fill a very similar role, would be very reliant on split push to win this game. Not to say that couldn't work, but it looks like that's the style of play that they're going to go for. Kappa123 now lacking this mid laner, although Wind Ranger would probably be one of, if not the best pick for it. Maybe something a little bit more on the aggressive Romy side could be an interesting choice for Kappa. It's going to be a Zeus instead, my goodness. The global presence from a Zeus is going to be very nice, but in the matchup against Shadowfiend, Shadowfiend has that matchup down pat. Zeus cannot deny creeps away from the SF, except for very early on, and even then, it's not going to be very convincing. Shadowfiend is probably just going to start out 2 branches Wraithband. At that point, Zeus's ability to CS against the SF is very limited. Although ganking into the Zeus's lane is usually pretty easy, getting in range for the Sand King's Burrow Strike is going to prove to be a difficulty. And as a pick, Kappa123 are going for the Zeus for 2 reasons. Mostly for just the raw damage they brings, but also for the vision across the map to know where Kingdom are when they're out split pushing. Although that utility is very good, I would have liked to see something akin to the Wind Ranger, although, of course, a lot of the common replacements for that Wind Ranger are not available, and now Kingdom go for the Dro Ranger. I like this a lot. I'm really digging this Kingdom draft. Although it's not going to fight head-on nearly as well against Kappa123, their team fight is still amazing. Don't get me wrong, Darkseer and Sand King, you can't ask for much more. Kingdom have abilities to split up this map and apply pressure across the board in such a way that's going to be difficult for Kappa123 to force the issue and force those 5-man fights. As far as which draft is easier to execute, I think Kappa123 still have that in the bag. Their draft plays itself a lot nicer if they get themselves that early advantage, can roam from lane to lane, getting kills, catching out the rats as they're out split pushing. But if Kingdom are able to pull it off, and if history is any indicator, I believe Kingdom are, then this could be a very good Dro Ranger lineup because of the lack of heroes to get up in her face that are going to be able to do damage after the fact. Zeus wants to sit on the back side, or on the back lines, excuse me, of the fight. The Gyrocopter isn't going to be getting any sort of positioning item to get up in a grill, and really that only leaves the Darkseer and the Sand King to get on top of her, and although they very well could, that might leave the Shadowfiend free inside this fight. There's so much pressure on this Sand King in order to perform and in order to find those initiations, but for now he hasn't connected, so we are going to have a little bit of a lull in the action as we wait that out. Very well. Well, hopefully the game will commence fairly normally. For the most part, these players aren't using their official names, but yeah, that's pretty normal for Southeast Asia Dota. We'll be moving on, and hopefully it won't distract anybody too much, although it would be really nice if they'd use their official tags so I don't mess anything up. And right now, I'm probably not even going to try. Well, everybody's joined us in, and hopefully it's not going to end up turning out poorly. Hopefully we're able to get underway, as this is a very packed schedule. As far as the viewers are aware, we have almost non-stop Dota, although there is going to be a little bit of delays between the games as we try to find the teams. For the most part, we have a packed 12-hour schedule, 5 games coming out from Southeast Asia, 5 games coming out from Europe, back to back to back. So it should be a very entertaining evening, to say the least. Well, this is a bit awkward. I don't have much to talk about as far as analyzing how everything should go down. I guess we look at our lane matchups again. I already talked about the Zeus Shadow Fiend, but as far as the side lanes are concerned, Dazzle Gyrocopter by itself is a very reasonable dual lane to send against the Nature's Prophet, although I don't think the Nature's Prophet is going to be entirely shut down. This is going to be a situation where Sand King is going to be allowed to get his stacks up and hopefully find that Blink Dagger to very good timing. Kingdom, although they could very easily set up kills on the Sand King while he's inside the jungle, just roam the Tuscan smoked up and then TPing the Nature's Prophet to secure the kill. I think this is going to be a bit more of a passive start coming out from Kappa123, which is going to give space, especially to the Shadow Fiend, who I really don't think is going to be pressured too much. Expecting the Zeus matchup, it looks like he's going to get an early Magic Wand, although right now he's begging for tangos, pinging out madly onto the allies there. Actually, it was the Drow Ranger, as they give him 3, so he's packed and ready to go to this mid lane. I'm getting that really awkward bug where it has that pentagon. Hopefully that doesn't get any worse or change. Well, it's living with this now. Hello, Pentagon. Hello, Reborn, and hopefully it's not going to be too bad right now. A big rotation, smoked up. They're going to look for the Burrow Strike. Boots first on this Sand King. He splits off looking for the Tusk, but the Tusk is too quick with also Boots on himself, so that first blood attempt is not going to pan out for Kappa123. It still should secure them the bounty rune, but that's about all it will do. They really wanted that first blood. If they go over towards the right, I'm tempted to say that they might even be able to get it, although the chances aren't 100% sure. It is a lot better than chasing after the Tusk. Probably just not checking his items, or not expecting to have boots at the very least. Shadow Fiend, with the amount of tangos that he's getting, probably going to get his bottle and then the magic wand immediately after that. We'll be able to find this at a good timing as long as they're able to secure this bounty rune. It looks like it's going to be a 50-50 bounty split towards either side, as the Shadow Fiend will get the bounty top and then Zeus gets the bounty bottom. Zeus is going to have an incredibly fast bottle to be able to spam out those Arc Lightnings. Although he's not able to deny the Shadow Fiend's farm away early on, he's also not going to get shut down either. Super hard, at least, at the beginning of this game. Once Shadow Fiend gets more souls up and running, can deny out even against the Arc Lightning coming out from Vitamin Light. But the start of this lane is fairly even, especially since the Shadow Fiend goes Raise level 1. I'm actually a little bit surprised he doesn't go Necro Mastery because the Zeus's animation is so bad and he has 45 damage. Even without starting Wraithband, the Shadow Fiend should be able to get more than enough souls here. The benefit of going for Raise 1, it ensures that you're able to get the bottle. And that's what he's going to do. And he has level 2 halfway through this creep wave anyway and should be able to get the vast majority of these CS. A Bolt will secure the last hit, but it's actually very interesting that the Zeus goes for Bolt instead of for Arc Lightning. He'll probably be able to secure this next one, cancels the Bolt, and we'll get the third, but already 4 and 1 on the Shadow Fiend, even with only 2 souls, also has the Precision Aura to fall back on. With the Wraithband start on the Drow Ranger, gives him an extra 6 damage. This Shadow Fiend should be able to run away with mid without much trouble at all. And the Drow Ranger up towards top is going to be able to deal with the Ion Shell coming out from the Darkseer very easily. She can focus down those creeps with the raw damage that she has, and sits at a far enough range to where the Ion Shell damage shouldn't be bothering her much at all. Worst case scenario, get an early Morbid Mask up for Lee Honky, and then he should be able to leave this very easily. Surge away by the Darkseer. They saved the Telekinesis, or at the very least tried to, but he still had enough Surge in order to get away, although it's going to take him a lot of harass. Next time, once they have level 2 on the Rubik for access to Fade Bolt, level 2 on the Tusk for Snowball, that kill should happen on the Darkseer. And although the Darkseer does have Ion Shell and Surge available, he's not going to be having nearly as good a time as the Nature's Prophet down towards bottom, although the Dazzle Gyrocopter is annoying. I think this Nature's Prophet should have a slightly better time, just because he doesn't have to deal with so much poke and the killing potential from the enemy side. The Nature's Prophet, worst case scenario, should be able to TP out against most of the ganks if the Sand King isn't present. And they need the Sand King in order to get that kill. And that's a bit awkward for Wallenstein because he really does want to be stacking up inside the woods and farming instead. These stacks are going to be scouted out by the Nature's Prophet's treants, and he's just going to casually walk these through the woods. He's going to spot out the large camp being stacked once, and in general just make a nuisance of himself. These trees are very tanky early on, called weeds apparently. With 550 HP should be more than enough for them to do that. But up towards top, they get the lift. They're going to get the first blood onto the Darkseer with a TP in from the Natures. And just like that, Kingdom have locked down this top lane. Although this is going to come at the cost of a lot of Nature's Prophet's time, actually. On his way back down towards the bottom lane, we'll probably take a neutral camper or two as he accelerates his farm that way. And the early first blood means a lot. Getting levels and farm on the Drow Ranger is very, very important. Although I do believe it was not the Drow to get that kill, instead it was the Rubik to get the last hit, and the first blood, gold. If she's able to get a lot of experience up and running, a quick level 6 would allow the Shadow Fiend to do even better than he already is. Right now, it's fairly even 13-5 compared to 13-0, Zeus and Shadow Fiend respectively. But he can start pulling ahead in this lane as he is getting a lot of damage. He's currently lasting with 91, whereas Vitamin Light has 53 right-click damage that he's not going to be CSing with very often, and only 100 from the Arc Lightning. Although 100 from Arc Lightning is by no means bad, Shadow Fiend is going to have more than that in just a bit. And up towards top, they're going to look for the Darkseer kill again. They get the Snowball to connect, and his Surge has run out. The Iron Shell's returning a good amount of damage, but is it enough to save his life? I don't think so. The right-click from the Rubik is going to be lethal, as they secure yet another kill onto the enemy off lane. This is leaving a lot of space for the Gyrocopter down towards bottom as the Nature's Prophet has completely left the lane. But they're still able to kill off this Darkseer and make sure that he's not having a good time. And although right now they're even on experience, the gold will favor the Nature's Prophet since he hasn't lost any, and Darkseer really just isn't getting anything. 0-2 is going to be our early kill score as the lanes are slightly in the favor of Kingdom. I'm not going to say it's a huge advantage, but it's enough. The big X factor is whether or not the Sand King is able to find himself a lot of gold from these stacks, but instead it looks like they might be giving some of them over towards the Darkseer. This triple stack in the large camp would really help him out in getting that Blink Dagger up on the SK, but it kind of feels like it's not going to be the fastest blink in the world, although at a reasonable time. Right now he's going to soak level 3 from the mid lane. He needs to be careful though, a double raise really puts a number on him. No, we'll just go for the raises on the creep wave as he's backed off successfully, and Nature's Prophet on the enemy side of the map is going to be farming up inside the woods. However, a smoked up Tusk is going to be hunting. I talked about how they could get kills with the Tusk rotating in, but Nature's Prophet doesn't have a lot of HP, so right now it feels like they're just setting up for that rotation, and Tusk is going to block out the camps. He's going to drop his Sentry Ward down on the large camp, and Dazzle's in a lot of trouble here. It's going to be dropped low as level 2, would have had access to Grave, so the Tusk isn't going to be able to get that kill, and will instead decide to fall back, excuse me. The Observer Ward that was placed will offer them vision of when the camp is being farmed, and that's good enough for them to be able to rotate on that and find themselves some kills. Will be really useful for them as Nature's Prophet's going to TP in onto the Shadow Fiend. He refills the bottle and then smokes up. A free bottle refill that doesn't even cost them the 75 gold that it usually does, and now they're going to look into the enemy woods to contest the stack. If they can take it for the Shadow Fiend, that means so much for them, and it looks like they very well might be able to do that. Although this gank might not get them a kill, if they get the kill on the Dazzle, it's just icing on the cake. Getting the stack is what they really came for. This is not only a lot of gold for the SF, but a lot of gold denied away from the Sand King. Taking away that Blink Dagger is huge. They're going to farm all of the camp except for one sad Hill Troll Priest. And it's not over yet. They turn around, they get the Sprout, they get the Telekinesis. Dazzle's going to die before he even gets off the grave. And also the Sand King. A huge victory for Kingdom as they go away with a huge amount of gold on this SF. Just like that, he has the completed, I believe, Buckler as well as Power Treads from just that stack and the 2 kill involvements for his side. So much CS going his way, and they're not losing space in mid either. I believe they gave a little bit of room towards the auxiliary heroes in the meantime, and Zeus is not a hero that can punish the Shadow Fiend being absent from the lane. His ability to put damage on the tower is almost nil, and Vitamin Light, although he does have a haste and is looking for a kill onto the Tusk, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to find it. The Tusk, he needs the Bolt and Ultimate for it to connect. He has the Bolt, he has the ult, but with the Snowball dodge, he's not going to be able to get that kill. Ice Shards don't wall him off, however, with the haste rune, the Zeus is going to survive, turns for another Bolt, can't quite get in range, lifted up, pulled back into the Shadow Fiend, but the raises won't connect. They get the long one, and that's all that they need. The raises do a stupid amount of damage at this point, and just like that, Kingdom are going to start out this game 5-0 as they're running away with it. The amount of aggressive plays coming out from their side is absolutely amazing. And now Sand King caught out inside the enemy woods. 4 enemy heroes around the corner. Silence back, push back into the ice shards. And then they're going to be able to kill him off. That was a really cute combo. You don't usually think about the pushback effect of the gust, but there was no way out if you're the Sand King in that situation. Now if we take a look, especially at the supports coming out from the Radiant side, they're just not getting nearly as much as they'd like to. Sand King, 7 minutes in, should like to be about halfway towards his Blink Dagger, level 4, pushing level 5, if he's having his time inside the jungle. But right now, the Darkseer was the one to farm this camp. The large creeps over in this side were given to the Shadow Fiend, not by their own volition, but taken by force by Kingdom. And just like that, I see this Kingdom draft getting way too much room in order to dislodge them. They have a team that's very good at taking the objectives. Dro's damage will mow through these towers, although it's not a hero we see very often anymore out of the nerf of the Visage Dro's synergy. They might be able to catch a kill on Darkseer here as he's silenced up. They have the snowball perfectly timed right after the surge, and even without the snowball, they might have been able to get that kill. So much damage coming out from Dro as she got her early points in 6. An interesting build coming out from the Ranger. 2-2-3 and then 1 point in ultimate as to be expected. I think it's just fine, and it's working out wonderfully for them, so you definitely can't complain. Although usually I like to see Drows go for a little bit more stat-oriented build. I think this is just fine. Like, they're going to be able to use it to consistently get kills and now put pressure on this tower. Shadow Fiend will join the fray. Just like that, Kingdom have all of their heroes in the top lane, and there's nothing that Kappa can do about it. The Zeus pushing in the mid lane to the best of his ability will hardly be putting any damage onto this tower. If this were a Dragon Knight, just in theory, like, you'd expect the Zeus to at least get a tower trade, or even if it was like a Lina or a Wind Ranger, they'd be able to at least get damage, but the pushing speed coming up from Kingdom's immense. You have so many units, double raise down to kill off the creep wave instantly, and that's 2 towers going the way, tier 1 and tier 2, and are they even going to stop here? They're pushing high ground? Are you kidding me? What's to stop them? The Dro damage is making this so very swift, and although they're trying to put pressure on the tier 1 bottom, it's just not fast enough. They need to get back here, and get back here now, or they're going to lose high ground towers. Maybe not racks, but Kingdom just can't be stopped. It's 7-0. They're running away with this. The mech's delivered to the Shadow Fiend to sustain this push. They lift back the Darkseer. Calldowns onto the ground, however. Gonna connect onto the SF. He's gonna pop his mechanism, dropping low. The Zeus ultimate, there's not enough mana for it. Can they kill him off? They will. Zeus will get it with a couple more shots, the bolt to secure the kill. 1-8 is our score, as Kappa123 have finally been able to repel Kingdom, but it comes at the cost of a lot of damage on that tier 3 so early into the game, and Kingdom might not be done yet. The Nature's Prophet's going to TP down towards bottom. They finally have been repelled, but that's still a victory for Kingdom. Even though they lose their Shadow Fiend, it forces out so much from the enemy's side, although no buybacks granted. It moves the entire Kappa group to defend onto this tier 3 tower, and they almost lose the tier 3. That's huge. If they're able to keep the Shadow Fiends, keep the Shadow Fiend alive there, I hesitate to imagine what would have happened to Kappa123's high ground. They probably would have lost tier 3 and then maybe a couple of kills after the fact. The Shadow Fiend is just an absolute monster at this point. Compared to the Zeus, his net worth isn't even close, and a lot of that comes down to the enemy team being so nice to stack up that large camp for him. But more importantly, and on a more serious note, Kingdom were very good at punishing that. They kept up the vision constantly. It was scouted out twice. They were able to get the ward vision down for the Tusk, and with that ward vision immediately transitioned into the steal of that stack. And it's just very good recognition of what needs to happen for Kappa123 in order to do well this game. They need the Blink Dagger on the Sand King, or else the fights just won't go well on their side unless Kingdom push too aggressively, which granted might have just happened in that top lane, but now they're going for Roshan. Although this is contestable, it's really hard. Zeus ultimate catch them vision inside the pit. They know what's happening, they know how low the Rosh is. Gyrocopter walks in, gets a good call down, onto the ground, Surge in Sand King, Burrow Strike, onto Li Hong Ki. They'll be able to bring down the Drow Ranger. The Shadow Fiend turns for Requiem, the raises, the Roshan's going to go down, killed by the Dire, snatched by the Gyrocopter. Death Requiem will fly out, but they do bring down the Aegis, doesn't matter, as the turnaround coming out from Kappa123 will secure them a couple of kills after the fact. It's really hard to call who comes away with the victory in that fight, but not anymore now that I see the numbers. That's more than a 2,000 swing in net worth going Kappa123's side. Although that is somewhat mitigated by the fact that they get the Roche Gold and experience, that only puts about 1,000 dent into it in the favor of Kingdom. And just like that, Kappa123 have successfully stopped the snowball, or at the very least slowed it down coming up from Kingdom. If Kingdom get that Roshan, that high ground push that we saw top probably would have continued to go on for barracks, and would have been very close to ending this game. But now that they've been slowed, Kingdom 1, 2, 3 have a shot Zeus in mid lane, gonna take a lot of damage from the Drow Ranger. That was just a couple of arrows. Turns for the bolt, however, with the call down from the Gyrocopter connecting. Oh, not on the Drow Ranger. Still the Rocket Barrage damage is enough. That was just on the edge. Maybe a bit of camera angle there. But now chasing forward for the Rubik. Gets the telekinesis back. Will throw away the Gyrocopter. Wants nothing to do with him, as he's doing quite a lot of damage at this point with phase boots and, more importantly, with just his spells being near enough maxed out. At least the important ones are maxed. Ooh. The game's state is going to slow a little bit as Kingdom have been repelled successfully that first time. The advantage that once was pushing 7,500 net worth in their favor and 3,000 experience in their favor has been pared down to less than half of that, about 3k net worth and 1k in the experience. This is going to slow them, but not stop them in their entirety. They have the mechanism on the Shadow Fiend, whereas the mechanism for the Darkseer is still a ways out, since he's gone for a lot of mana sustain. The Arcane Boots and Soul Ring, although this is normal, is going to delay that compared to how fast the Shadow Fiend can farm, who's also now going to go for a BKB. Although usually I think BKB on Shadow Fiend, even after the mechanism is not preferred, I think it matches the playstyle that Kingdom are going for this game and will allow them to push high ground much better. And right now the damage coming out from Kappa123 is almost exclusively magic damage. There's a little bit of right-click DPS coming out from the Gyrocopter with the double damage rune that definitely helped for a little while in the mid lane. But it's mostly Rocket Barrage and call down from him, mostly the kick coming out from the Zeus, and Sand Darks are almost exclusively in that respect. And speaking of the Sand up towards top, gets caught up by the Snowball, Walrus punches there, he gets the Burrow Strike, buys himself a little bit more space, but without the Blink, probably won't be able to escape. He's going to juke through the trees, but the trees have been destroyed. They'll be able to punch him down, a killing spree for Lord Boons. And just like that, that's the Necro book for the Nature's Prophet. I really like the way the Kingdom are itemizing. It synergizes nicely with how they're playing this game, although in a vacuum, Nature's Prophet or going for a Necro book isn't necessarily what you want to be doing every game. This is definitely the game for it. And same with BKB Rush on the SF, and even though Drow Ranger just building into mass amounts of agility, although that is fairly standard, it all synergizes. It all synergizes together nicely. Losing the Sand King there is bad for two reasons. Not only is it a pickoff for Kingdom, but it's also gold lost for the SK, and when you're saving up for the Blink, that's a really big deal. Sand King is sitting on 1,500 gold. It's not super far away from the Blink Dagger, but compared to when you want to have this item pick up on ESK, it's very late. And now Shadow Fiend is going to be roaming around inside the enemy woods, looking for an aggressive wraparound. He's going to find the Gyrocopter. They catch Vitamin Light over in the sidelines, lift up the Zeus. The Shadow Fiend's going to eat a full Rocket Barrage, but turns for a Requiem with the Burrow Strike. They'll be able to punish him. Way too aggressive position coming out from the SF, and now tanking tower shots. Nature's Prophet will also go down. Zeus will die, but gets off his ultimate beforehand. That'll transition to a Tusk kill and a double kill for Wallflow, as they're able to catch out the Rubik up towards the north as well. Sand King has a maxed out Burrow Strike, and they should be able to get in range with the Surge. Surging up the Sand King, Burrow Strike through, heal bomb to secure the kill, and it's a 4-for-1 exchange. A lot of that comes down to how that fight breaks down. The Shadow Fiend was very confident in his ability to find the enemy team and absolutely demolish them. He goes in alone behind enemy lines, but takes a full Rocket Barrage, starts that fight off at about half HP behind that tower there. As the Gyrocopter's damage output just came as a surprise to him. I don't think he expected the Gyrocopter to be standing in that spot. And when you're going for an aggressive dive like that, you desperately need to have ward coverage up, and although I think they had some trees in lane, they weren't deep behind enemy tower, or at least not that I can remember. And even if they were, Shadow Fiend still makes the call to go that deep. If he has his BKB there, sure, go for that play, but without the BKB, he takes the Rocket Barrage, he's at half HP, and then the Burrow Strike through will secure his demise. He needs that match community up before they can make that style of play, and I think Kingdom have been knocked down to a situation where this game is close to even, and when you are going for these more aggressive, pushing style, all-in item builds, that's really bad for the Kingdom side, and I think Kappa123 are starting to be able to get themselves a significant lead when it comes to the momentum, as they've dislodged Kingdom's push twice now. And although this game is very even when it comes to metrics, that's a slight edge for Kappa123 because they're not taking towers. The tower damage on the enemy side is fairly insignificant, although they do take down the tier 1 in mid. Tier 2 and tier 1 up towards top have already fallen towards Kingdom's favor. If they could get another tower on their side, this game might even be Kappa advantage. Nature's Prophet has that Necro book too, and Kingdom are going to benefit from this aura heavily, but they need to make sure that they win the fight beforehand. With a Blink and Burrow Strike, that's going to be really hard. Gyrocopter, again, the damage on the Shadow Fiend is immense. With the Rocket Barrage, we'll be able to secure it through, and the Shadow Fiend's just died one too many times in recent memory. The last couple of fights, it's been the SF going down. Really nice focus fire coming out from Kappa123, and if I'm honest, the Shadow Fiend should have expected there to be an initiation from the Sand King sooner rather than later. The Dyer's vision just isn't appropriate to protect people as they're out farming mid. Right now, he is going to get caught out. Kingdom are starting to lose control of this game, but now they're going to group up. They have the ability to take out this tier 1 very easily, even without the Necro Books 2 here. I believe the Necro Books were popped in another line, but a Blink Burrow catches out 2 of them. Nicely done. Stolen Burrow Strike, however. The vacuum back is there. No follow-up, except for the flat cannon shots. Will it be enough to kill off this Tusk with the minus arm from the Dazzle? It's going to get close. He doesn't get that last shot off and won't be able to get in range, but a Burrow Strike will. The Iron Shell damage onto the Nature's Prophet and Rubik will drop them low. Not quite lethal, but Kappa123 again take a teamfight victory. The Gyrocopter's pretty low on about 600 HP or so, needs to be a little bit careful as over in the sidelines. Radiant's Courier is going to go down. It was casually killed off by Treants. I'm a little bit surprised there. Maybe a bit of Miss Micro coming out from the Radiant side, and that was holding on to nothing of super big import. 2 wards and the full wand for probably one of these supports. I believe that was the Dazzles. Taking those wards off of the map by killing the Courier is a lot more significant than otherwise would seem. The gold is, of course, nice for Kingdom, but denying away that vision will allow them to start fights on their own terms much more convincingly in the next couple minutes of this game. We'll have to see if that becomes relevant, but right now the kill score is tied 11-11, and this Gyrocopter is getting quite huge. He has the Sanjin Yasha, Helm Dominator, Phase Boots, Aquila, Magic Wand, all the items that you could hope for at 18 minutes in on your Gyrocopter. On the flip side of that coin, however, Shadowfiend now has his BKB, which, if he had it in the last couple of fights, would definitely have taken longer to kill and might not have gone down at all. With the amount of damage he's pumping out, this Shadowfiend's an absolute menace. And they have the Necrobook 3-2 for the Nature's Prophet. They're still hitting a pretty good timing window, Kingdom, to allow them to push, but with the lack of initiation heroes, they rely almost exclusively on the Tusk and the Rubik to pull that weight, and they just don't have nearly as nice a range of initiation or as an impactful initiation as a blinking Sand King with his Burrow Strike. It's very single target focused, and as I said in the draft, the course of action here should be pick and push, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get that pick off before they're going for the push. It looks like they're going to just group up with the power of their items. I think they're strong enough in order to do this, and a very interesting ward will be placed out by the Dazzle. Okay, so the vision this ward gives you, it's whenever heroes are hiding inside the trees, but also when they're rotating down towards bottom of a farm, and maybe more importantly, the fact that it's not going to be de-warded is going to help them out a lot. Since they are against the Zeus, going for those less conventional spots will much better protect the ward coverage. The Dazzle's Weave is going to be applied. It hits a couple of crucial targets. In fact, everybody on the side of Kingdom. That's a really important factor here, as I don't think they want to fight while the duration of that's on them. Right now, they're already taking into minus armor on the majority of their heroes, and the physical damage from Gyrocopter, although not super impressive from his items, when amplified by that much minus armor, is quite impressive. It's going to expire, and now they're going to go for round number 2. But Kappa123 have successfully pushed out the waves long enough, and it looks like Kingdom are going to sound the retreat, at least a partial retreat, for the Nature's Prophet. He goes up towards the top lane, has the TP available in 3 seconds. It looks like he used his global teleport in order to get up there, but now Gyrocopter, leading the charge, is going to walk around the corner. It is nighttime. Finding this angle of initiation is going to be a little bit more difficult for them, and it looks like they're going to back off. They have no clue where the enemy's side is, and if they want to know where they are, they'd have to use the Zeus ultimate. Zeus is going to show over towards the sentry, or the observer ward placed in the middle lane, and I think that gives them a pretty good idea of where the initiation is going to come from. All while this is happening, Nature's Prophet's pushing top, but unfortunately for the Nature's Prophet, there is no tower for him to take. Maybe pressures the high ground a little bit, but not much. Zeus ultimate, or rather Bolt, excuse me, is going to connect on the Shadowfiend. I don't think they caught vision of that ward, but over in the sidelines, look at the Snowball, Ice Shards, and Walrus Punch. With one raise, that's the death of the Zeus, and without him, it's a lot harder for them to take this fight, especially with the Darks here. Now it's almost impossible. They have the Blink Burrow Strike, Epicenter, and Gyrocopter's Call Down, which might be enough under normal circumstances, but the mechanism's still up for the Shadowfiend. He has the BKB, and even if he loses a couple of supports, they'll probably be able to take down the towers. And up towards top, the Nature's Prophet doing rat things, takes down the tier 3 and is focusing down the ranged barracks, and he might be able to take that out in its entirety. He's not going to be able to do so. Feeds over the Necrobook 3s, but for the damage that he got on that ranged barracks, it's completely worth it for him. And now Kingdom are going to continue pushing bottom. Very nice split push coming out from them. The tier 3 is going to take substantial damage. The flat cannon cooldown for the Gyrocopter just isn't fast enough in order for them to defend against 2 lanes. 1 lane is reasonable enough for them to stop the push in, but 2 lanes is hard. Now the flat cannon cooldown is available. It looks like they're going to back up, but Kingdom have finally been able to breach the base. Pushing high ground is going to get so much easier, and that ranged barracks up top is not going to be surviving much longer. Next time they go for a fight, Kingdom should be able to take that with their Nature's Prophet. Although now they are going to be spied up by the Zeus ultimate as they go into the Roshan pit or around that area. It feels like Kingdom are starting to pick up momentum back into this game, and the graphs are going to reflect that with a 7,500 net worth advantage. Although experience is going to be almost even, because they are grouping so much, they are sacrificing their experience a little bit. It's still, at worst case scenario, on the same level as Kappa123. In fact, the disparity between the Zeus and the Shadow Fiend is quite significant. Zeus getting his level 16 ultimate would be really nice for the team, but that just doesn't seem to be an option. Zeus is also not getting the farm to get his Aghanim Scepter up at a fast click. He's almost getting doubled up compared to the Shadow Fiend. He has some tangos. I'm not sure when he bought these, but I actually quite like that on Zeus. It'll allow him to D-ward. For 125 gold, you can instantly kill those wards instead of having to spend the extra lightning bolt in order to do so, and it's very time efficient. Maybe even getting a quelling blade would be worth it on Zeus. I'm not sure, but I do quite like having the tangos at this point, even though I think he had those from way earlier. It's effective use of the item, even though it has scaled off quite heavily. Nature's Prophet has the Necrobook 3 available again, although I don't think this is necessarily going to be a full-in push coming out from him. Let's see if they can cancel his TP. He's going to look for it, but the long-range bolt vacuum back. Nature's Prophet's going to die, and his Necrobooks too. That is so much gold. The amount of income that they get from that Nature's Prophet kill is huge. If we take a look, 374 gold from killing off the Nature's Prophet is nice and all, but they get more than 400 from killing off his trees and the Necrobooks on top of it. Killing off his army is actually even worse than killing the Nature's Prophet. Although having Nature's Prophet off of the map is also something to factor in there. Kappa123 get a lot of gold, and if he keeps on doing that, especially towards the gyrocopter, this is going to be a very, very fat gyro. Right now it looks like they're having some sort of Skype issue. The rest of the team is inside Roshan. They're going to take it. So I suppose this is one of those classic space-created moments for the Nature's Prophet, as he has succeeded in securing them a map objective, but at the cost of his own life and at the life of all of his summons. Well, there's Roshan going to fall as we do get the good to go. Shadow Fiend now is the owner of a new Aegis of the Immortal and still has a very long duration BKB. Has yet to use it. 10 seconds up on him, 10 seconds up on the Drow Ranger 2, and a Blink Dagger on the Rubik. The item timings are coming out for Kingdom. If this game goes longer, the reduction in BKB timer is going to be very significant in stopping their ability to go high ground. But right now, Kingdom are reaching one of their major peaks as a team where they're going to look to end this game. And it's one of the things you look for when you're on a Drow Ranger lineup. You're trying to take high ground between 20 and 30 minutes usually, and they'll probably be able to succeed. Even if this push down towards bottom doesn't net them a Rax, up towards top there's an exposed barracks, and that's just how Nature's Prophet likes it, as he's about to respawn and be able to get back in this engagement. On the flip side of the coin, Kappa123 have very good high ground defense lineup, with the Darkseer Blink now online, the vacuum back into Burrow Strike with the follow-up from the Gyrocopter could be huge for them if the BKBs aren't well timed coming up from the Shadow Fiend and the Drow Ranger. Shadow Fiend going to start munching away at this tier 3 tower, but in the meantime, top lane, Nature's Prophet's finding himself a range barracks, even without having the Necro Book available. That thing has such a long cooldown. Burst Strike's there, and will destroy the Treants, but without a Sand King, they'll feel a lot more comfortable down in the bottom lane. However, not with the Weave on them. Again, this is one of those tools that is very easy to underestimate. Nice taunt there, Zeus. And, oof. He taunts the Gust too. What a player. Jeez. Kingdom are going to be slowed down a little bit, but that's going to expire now, and the Sand King's here is going in for the Blink Burrow. Epi catches out the Sand King, or the initiation onto the Tusk, as well as the Drow Ranger. Nice 2 kills there. The Drow Ranger just didn't see it coming. A surprising time for him to go in is going to pay off in a big way. They'll lose the Shadow Fiend here, at least the Aegis for him. Can they get him out the second time? Rubik has no defensive items. He's going to have to look for the Telekinesis. Yule sceptered up by the Zeus, however, the Gyrocopter will chase forward. Pops the BKB, fighting against the Nature's Prophet and the SF is very hard, as Gyrocopter is now isolated away from the rest of the team, but with the bolts, now the BKB is worn off, they might be able to kill off this SF. They need just a little bit more damage. They have no Zeus ultimate. They already used it in this fight, so they won't be able to catch him. And the Shadow Fiend will survive, although it was very close. The end tally across that engagement is a 3-for-2 exchange, favoring Kingdom because of the kill on the Gyrocopter more than anything. Although losing a Drow Ranger so quickly inside that fight was very bad for them, given how that initiation started with a beautiful Burrow Strike Epi on 2 heroes. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody, and also the Nature's Prophet was able to get the Range Barracks top. Range Barracks means a lot more in this game than it does in others. Drow Ranger with that aura can boost up the range creeps that are already going to be incredibly hard for them to deal with compared to the normal range creeps with only 330 HP, the damage they're able to pump out is quite immense, and being able to pop that aura means that top lane is constantly pushing in. In fact, I think it's arguable that this game, ranged barracks means more than melee barracks, although I think I'll stick to the normal saying that melee barracks means a lot more, just because they're able to tank out those waves and push them a lot more aggressively. But the damage that they're able to do on structures, the ranged barracks have that one in, or the ranged creeps have that one in the bag, if they leave these lanes unattended, if Nature's Prophet's able to have his way. And also Nature's Prophet has a Desolator. This is maximum rat build for the Nature's Prophet. At least in the sense that once he gets to the buildings, is able to take them down probably about as fast as he can. Silence up towards top, going to push back the Sand King Gyrocopter. Will buy Drow Ranger a little bit more space, and Lee Hotkey is going to be able to back out of there. Worst case scenario for the Drow Ranger, she's forced to pop her BKB, which is still at 10 seconds. That would be a big blow, but at the very least, she's able to survive afterwards. Shadowfiend going to push out in mid lane, and right now Kappa123 are playing a very dangerous game of whack-a-mole. They might be able to deal with one of these heroes split pushing, but if you focus on the Shadowfiend, focus on the Drow Ranger too much, then you have Nature's Prophet that pops the setup with Necrobook 3s. They need to kill off these Necrobooks. The melee one is going to juke out the Burrow Strike and might be able to take out this tier 3 tower. The vacuum back, they're going to kill off the ranged Necrobook for 200 gold. Now look for the melee, but in the meantime, fight in mid, breaking out. Gyrocopter's calldown is going to be dropped on top of the Shadowfiend. They already used the Zeus ultimate over towards the sidelines. Burrow Strike's there, catches the Rubik. That'll be lethal. The Shadowfiend now hitting onto the sprouted Gyrocopter. Has the BKB, really doesn't want to have to use it now, but has to. Pops the BKB and fakes the Requiem. Going to cancel that one out, trying to juke it. He is going to eventually cast that Requiem. It's over on the sidelines. They're going to look for the Tusk. He jumps in, Walrus Punch, kills off the Dazzle. The Shadowfiend now has the Drow Ranger to back her up, but a vacuum back into the epicenter. The damage is immense, although not into Lee Hung Ki. The physical damage from the Woe illusions is huge. 158 base damage on that Drow Ranger illusion. She drops like a rock, even with the magic immunity. Her armor just isn't up to snuff since she has gone for such a strength heavy and survivability heavy build against the Zeus, and just like that, they're all wiped. The Nature's Prophets Necrobooks down towards bottom end up getting killed, don't even get the tier 3 tower for their trouble, and this game is swinging hard back in the favor of Kappa123. The Drow Ranger's illusion is going to assist them in the push, and it actually does quite a lot of damage. Illusions from Drow Ranger do benefit from the agility that comes from her ultimate now, or at least that was a couple patches ago, so getting that wall illusion is a huge deal, although previously it would only be operating with the 98 base damage that you see now that it's dead. That's pretty cool. And now Kappa123 are in a much more safe situation in this game. They're doing it mostly because of the Sand King and the high ground defense plays coming out from all of their members, really. It's been quite nice to watch, although out of them the Dazzle's had the least impact. He's always there and has been very good with his positioning in not getting picked off. 1 and 2 on the Dazzle. His KD is reflecting that he's always been there, at the very least, to assist with the shallow graves and the heals. You're not going to get assists for that, of course, but even just the ultimate is usually enough to repel the Drow Ranger, and since she has gone for so many strength items, looks like an S and Y is going to be in Drow Ranger's future. Her armor isn't even that impressive once you factor in the the weave. Excuse me. Although without the weave, she is sitting on 17 armor, which I suppose is all fine and good. Maybe I was seeing things earlier. I thought it was less than that, but alright. Game will continue. Kingdom are now on the back foot, although up until this point they were the ones that were calling the shots. Now it might finally be Kappa123's turn to go on the aggressive and to make a move with the Sand King. He's going to have a Hex here pretty soon, or actually is that a Shiva's? Alright, never mind. It's going to be Shiva's guard for the Sand King. Usually when you buy Shiva's you get the plate mail first, but hey, if you have the gold for it, get the Mystic Staff, why not? And he's going to have that completed. Shiva's is a very important item in this game because of the minus armor coming out from the Shadowfiend, just the raw physical damage from the Drow, and both of these teams should look to invest in some major armor items. And Shiva's is one of them. Good purchase up, also deals with clearing out the creep waves, better than the Scythe Device. Scythe Device would be more or less exclusively a pick-off item, and although it is very good in the team fights, I think the Shiva's might be just a shade better in this game. And I think the Sand King agrees with me, or at least his item build would say that. He's going to be pushing up towards top. He might be able to find this Nature's Prophet. He does have a lot of HP on him. I don't think he's going to commit the epicenter here, but if he did, with the Zeus ultimate, I think that's a kill. A little bit of miscommunication maybe there, but in the end, the Nature's Prophet will be able to walk it off as the Shadowfiend looks for a tier 3 bottom. He gets it. Vacuum back, no follow-up. The Shadowfiend is going to be just fine. It's still the situation where if you focus too much on one of these heroes, the other one will take your buildings. But right now, the important buildings still stand. Melee barracks and ranged barracks bottom, melee barracks still standing top. Well, Octarine Core is done on the Zeus. Usually you'll see Bloodstone or Aghanim Scepter built up with those point boosters, but Octarine's going to help a lot with clearing out these creep waves, and in general good for counter pushing. But now the Nature's Prophet, trying to backdoor this melee barracks up towards top lane, will be unsuccessful, and this is another round of Necrobooks fed over towards the Gyrocopter. That's 400 gold, over no damage on the melee barracks. That's a pretty huge deal. It really does start adding up. That's at least the third or fourth set he's fed over to the Gyro, and across all of that, it's like 1,600 gold or something like that. Bottom lane, Wall is going to be dropped, gets a Shadow Fiend illusion. Presence of the Dark Lord is quite annoying to deal with, and if they can get that illusion or keep it alive, they'll be able to keep that on their own team. But right now, the Zeus ultimate is going to be used to kill off the Nature's Prophet. They caught him out with the Sand King. Sorry for missing out on camera, that's completely my bad. But the Nature's Prophet down. Dealing with the split push is now a lot easier, so they only have to deal with it on two fronts, from the Joe Ranger and the Shadow Fiend. And right now, I don't think Kingdom are comfortable enough to split. If they do get split apart inside these engagements, they might just all fall down. The Sand King with his initiation is huge, but now they're going to smoke up. They want to go aggressive, catch out this Gyrocopter, but there's 4 heroes in this area. He's going to drop the Requiem and the BKB available with a couple of raises. We'll try to kill off the Dazzle, and successfully too. BKB, however, popped on the Gyrocopter. Nature's Prophet's going to buy back into this game, vacuum back on the Shadow Fiend. Mechanist will sustain a little bit of that damage as they focus for the Sand King. Silence up over the sidelines. SK going to disjoint those last projectiles. Can he get out with the blink? He will! Just barely going to survive. Down towards the south, Yule's Scepter is going to be thrown under the Nature's Prophet as Zeus tries to get his way out to safety, healing up a good amount with that Octarine, but not nearly enough to save his life. It costs Nature's Prophet his buyback. Buyback available, or buyback also spent on the Dazzle and available for a lot of the big cores of this game, but not for the Gyrocopter, as he's bought out for the full Butterfly. Although if he gets a couple of kills, that could change. They're now going to commit for the bottom barracks. They take this quickly. You need to do something now. They have the Epicenter available, but it might be too late. They blink in and then smoke on the Sand King, or rather just use the Sandstorm. He's going to juke out a BKB on the Drow Ranger, but that BKB was spent to secure themselves the barracks. They need to find a good combo now. The BKBs are down. They'll get the vacuum back, but the Calden's a little bit off, and the Sand King isn't in position for the Burrow Strike. And all in the meantime, while this fight's going down, while they kill off the Tusk, Nature's Prophet's pushing up towards top lane, gets a melee barracks there. Kingdom have finally done it. This is what they've been planning for, itemizing for, and playing for this entire game. They're behind in kills, sure, but that doesn't matter. What matters in this game is defending the Ancient, and the easiest way to kill off the Ancient is by taking down super and mega creeps and constantly keeping those lanes pushing, and they will. Now with both ranged and melee in these lanes, the Drow Ranger's aura on the ranged creeps is so much better as they're protected by these really beefy super creeps. Normal melee creeps are from that wave, but this next one, 776 HP, even with the Octarine on Zeus, it's going to be hard. And the Octarine, he's going to heal up a lot with that Zeus ultimate. They kill off the Drow Ranger, but with the raise, the Shadow Fiend turns for him. They're not out of the woods yet, but Gyrocopter's isolated, very far away from the rest of his team. Epicenter Burrow Strike, Sand King goes in on very little HP, but with the Stolen Burrow Strike will go down. Still was enough damage to go for the Shadow Fiend. That was worth it for him to make that play. Can the Nature's Prophet get out of here alive? They have the vacuum to cancel his TP. The answer is no. Ultra kill for this Gyrocopter. And now they're going to rotate into Roshan. There's buyback available for the SF and the Drow Ranger, but not buyback available for the Nature's Prophet. This is a time where Kappa might be able to push out these lanes, but although that fight is very good for them, don't get me wrong, is it good enough to bring this game back in their favor? I'm gonna say no. 2,000 is about the gold swing, and although the experience swing is a little bit more significant, Kingdom, as long as this game isn't like 10k in the advantage of Kappa123 or more, I think they're fine. Like, as long as this game is within that 10k range, they're still able to push out these waves incessantly. The issue arises where their high ground defense isn't super great, so they need to make sure these lanes don't get pushed on to their side, but then again, Kappa123 also don't have the greatest tower damage dealers. Although Gyrocopter is good at sieging with the Butterfly as well as the BKB, excuse me. He is only going to be working with his normal damage on those towers, whereas Drow Ranger is currently offering everybody that's ranged on our team a plus 57 bonus for the Shadow Fiend, for the ranged Necronomicon units, for the ranged creeps in the lane as well when she decides to pop that aura. And it looks like she's going to go for a Daedalus. It's a little bit greedier of an item pickup for her, but I think it'll work out nicely. And the Shadow Fiend also going to be getting a major item soon. Sending the courier out to the secret shop. I can only expect this is Demon Edge for his own MKB, unless he decides to go for the Satanic. We'll have to see what it's going to be. And it's going to be the Demon Edge to somewhat deal with the Gyrocopter's evasion. I think Shadow Fiend is the one that's slated with the goal of killing off this Gyro inside the fights. Even after taking a really good engagement, even after taking Roshan, Kappa123 are still stuck behind that line near enough. Still, drawing is bugged in Reborn. I have no idea how to fix that, but regardless, they can't keep these lanes convincingly pressured when you have two barracks down near against a Nature's Prophet. This is the dream situation for every Nature's Prophet player, really, where although the game is losable, it's your game to win. Like, you have all of the tools available to apply pressure on the enemy's side and make sure that they're just not able to get anything. And now he's just going to go ahead and farm some Ancients over on the sidelines. While this Aegis is on the Gyrocopter, I don't think Kingdom are going to go for another high ground push. That is unless they find a pickoff, and especially the Sand King would be a great one for them to get. The Blink Dagger will be cancelled, but oh, Gyrocopter's already going for it. We have a Divine Rapier on this guy. This is an all-in move. He's going to drop his Helm of the Dominator for it, and just like that, Kappa123 now have a situation where they have an Aegis Doctor on their Gyrocopter. The next 3 minutes of this game are very delicate for Kingdom. You know what I said about pushing out those lanes and tower damage not being easy for Kappa123? Divine Rapier patches all of those weaknesses up. 300 and what is it, 30 damage? Yeah, 330 damage on the DR, and well, now Kappa123 have a chance. I think this is one of the few ways that they can actually win this game. Although Divine Rapier is going to have another impact on this game, in that it's going to mean that the Gyrocopter has to be very safe. If he gets caught out by the Tusk's initiation and he has the Droranger and Nature's Prophet on him, or the Shadow Fiend Nature's Prophet on him, there's really no way for him to survive, especially once this MKB comes out. Divine Rapier is going to be dropped. Interesting. He ends up deciding to hold it now. I was wondering if he was going to save it until they decide to go for that high ground push, or for the death ball push for now. Kappa123 are being held in their base. They need to make this play. Drawings on the map right now are fairly accurate. They need to make some sort of smoke play, or at the very least, get onto the enemy side of the map so this Divine Rapier can have an impact on this game and give Kappa123 a chance. Shadow Fiend, if he gets caught out here, this could be disastrous. They might be able to find the jump on him. They have the Sand King. Blink Burrow Strike connects. He wasn't able to pop the BKB, and with that Divine Rapier, he's dropping like a rock. Gyrocopter finds himself a wicked 6 spree, and Shadow Fiend has no buyback. He bought out for the Demon Edge as well as the Javelin. He doesn't even have the full MKB, and now the Gyrocopter can barrel down mid lane. They have a minute where they don't have to deal with the Shadow Fiend. Even with the Rapier, trading against the Nature's Prophet and Droranger is going to be difficult, but it's at least something that they can, in theory, do. The Droranger is pushing through mid lane. She's going to have an angle to go for tier 4s, but the tier 2 still stands in the mid lane, so they can go for nothing but the win. They're going to kill off these smaller structures right now, but Kappa123 are inside their own base. They're going to look for the tier 3 tower. Are they going to be able to take out these barracks quickly enough, or are they just going to go for throwing after the tier 3? They're pinging out. Dazzle wants to go for the win. How's their Ancient looking? The tier 4s on their side are falling so quickly. The Desolator and the Necro Books. The Ancients still are not exposed yet. They're focusing on these tier 3s, but not fast enough. The tier 4s still remain on the Dire side. BKB pop by Li Hongqi. He's going to look for the TP out. Will he make it? He won't. The Darkseer illusions are enough to kill off the Drow. She's forced to buy back into this game. Radiance Ancient is exposed, being hit away by those Necronomicon warriors. The damage won't be enough. They can't kill off the Darkseer. Gyrocopter's going to town inside the base. He never left. He pops his BKB. He's going for the win. The Gyrocopter's killing everybody with these flat cannon shots. Still has the Aegis. Ultra kill for Wall Flow, and now he's going to look for the end of the game. GG Kappa. They make it happen with that Divine Rapier Gyrocopter. And with one pickoff on the Shadow Fiend, the game completely flips on its head. Kingdom, I'm going to say they played that well, but one too many aggressive pushes turn around as Kappa123 beautifully execute the last couple of engagements in that fight. 17-1-11, the Gyrocopter owning it up. And I look forward to seeing Kappa123 in the future, and we're going to be able to see them very shortly, as they're going to be going against... Oh, my brain fails me, but we'll keep you updated on stream what's going to be happening next. What an amazing game to watch, and what an exciting best of one. That's the way to take it. Divine Rapier Gyro, 744 GPN. We'll be back with more Dota, and will be for the rest of today. Still about 8 hours to go, and maybe even a little bit more than that. See you soon. That was definitely a pleasure to watch.